There are tons of business podcasts to choose from, but only one has the stamp of approval. Kristin Stampini is South Florida's leading real estate entrepreneur and your trusted source for everything real estate.
I would like to welcome my listeners and thank you for joining us today for another episode of my podcast, The Stamp of Approval. I'm Kristin Stampini, co-founder of the Stampini team with RE/MAX Services in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm also a certified real estate coach for Craig Proctor and the owner of Global Virtual Real Estate Assistants. I'm a real estate investor and a national trainer and public speaker. So the Stamp of Approval podcast was launched to share and educate other realtors, consumers, and other business owners across North America by sharing value and content to my listeners in each and every episode, as well as share my experiences and triumphs and failures and strengths throughout my entire life, with hope of my audience being able to expand their knowledge on everything real estate, business, sales, and mindset oriented. So today I have Marcus Hinds. Marcus has been a realtor since 1999. He is currently the president of Hinds Realty Group Incorporated in Walnut Creek, California. Marcus has experience in remodeling homes and built his first custom home at the age of 27. And he's actually going to be selling it. Marcus has also helped all types of clients, from those purchasing their first starter homes to those building a real estate retirement portfolio. He currently receives personal training from Craig Proctor Systems, learning from the top brokers of North America as he builds a well-respected team of his own. His company strives on communication and in putting the client's needs always first. He believes in trust and loyalty while maintaining relationships with his win-win approach to all dealings. And his goal is to always to become your realtor for life. And I'm just going to tell you, I've known Marcus for many, many years and throughout the years. And I've also, coached him previously with the Craig Proctor Systems. And he is such a great guy. And at a young age has been extremely successful, not just as having his own real estate team, but as an investor himself. So today, what we're going to really talk about is Marcus and how he's been an investor throughout the years, what he's done and, how much money you can make as actually being an investor. So welcome, Marcus. So happy to have you today.
Thank you, Kristin. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us, how long have you been an investor?
I have been an investor for my entire life.
In real estate, you've been investing in real estate. How long? When was your first investment property that you bought?
I bought my first investment property in 2001. It was a probate sale, and it was the ugliest house in the entire neighborhood.
Okay, and how old were you in 2001?
I was 22 years old.
So 22 years old, you bought your first investment property.
Yeah.
Was it a flipper?
It was a complete flipper. I actually only had enough money to clean up the living room and mop the floors in the bedroom. So I cleaned up the living room, the master bathroom, and I sealed off the rest of the house. And I had a partial kitchen that was usable.
So how'd you buy it?
I was in real estate for a year and a half. Interest rates at that time were about 10.5 on a first and 8.5 on a second, or something like that. It was eight on a first and like 10 on a second. So I got in for the minimum amount of money down. I saved that money up from real estate commissions, doing sales.
Do you remember how much you had to have?
Yeah, it was, I believe it was 3% of 260,000. So it was about $8,500 saved up. And then
that's pretty good at 22. So then you bought it. That's kind of risky, right?
It was kind of risky, the fact that it was a fixer-upper.
And you're only 22 years old.
Yeah, I was also running and operating a flooring business, though. So I was doing real estate flooring, carpet, tile, and hardwood for money. I was going to college full-time, running the flooring business, and doing real estate. So I was doing all three careers.
So how much money did you make on your first flip?
So I bought that one in 2002, 2001. I sold it the summer of 2005 for 460. I made about 200,000 in 5 years.
Wow. So you spent, it cost you 8,500 and then you got the loan. And then how much money did you have to put in it?
I put in about 25,000 back then.
And you had the money? You had 25,000 in cash, so you had whatever, 35 grand?
No, keep in mind, no, I could only afford to fix up some of it. And so little by little I fix it up. So going into it, I only had enough money to refinish the hardwood floors. So I did that on my own in the master bedroom, the living room, and then I cleaned up the kitchen and made it usable.
So you lived in it?
I lived in it, and I literally quarantined off the hallway. So in the hallway, going to the other 2 bedrooms, the other bathroom, and the den, I put big heavy-duty duct tape and a tarp because it was really nasty, really bad. There was rats in the house.
Oh my
there was
God.
Trash. The people used the back rooms to store trash of this house.
Ew. But then you made a couple 100,000 in 5 years.
Little by little. So every month, every couple of months, I would save up. So maybe I had after 2 or 3 months, I had another 5,000, and then I would do the rest of the rooms. So just every couple of months, I just saved up all my money, and every dollar that I had went into either paint, flooring, tile, countertops, a vanity. Every dollar that I had just went into the house, which, I have a great saying that we used to say, me and my buddies that got into the game early, we used to push each other. And there's a movie we watched called Boiler Room. And there was a phrase in that movie. It says, basically, if you want to make yourself a lot of money, put yourself in debt. Because
okay.
Go out and buy a house. There's no better investment for anybody on the planet, unless you're living at your parents' house for free and you're pitching into the family house. That's commendable.
Yeah.
But now, if you're not living in your family's house and pitching in, the best investment is the roof over your head because you're paying to live somewhere.
That's right. Okay, so then you made a couple 100,000. Then what'd you do? When was your next investment after that?
Yeah, so I split that money into 2 other flips.
You bought those cash?
No, I used that money for a down payment and then enough money to fix them up. So I bought a car, which was I bought the Mercedes-Benz that I really wanted, and I bought an investment property.
So now you're 27.
26.
26, okay.
Yeah.
And then how much did you make on those?
On that investment there, I made, the market started to cool off. It was the winter time. I made 60,000 off of that one there, that investment flip.
And how long did it take you to get, to do that, to buy it, to flip it?
Buy it, fix it up, sell it. Everything was about 8 months.
Okay. And why was it so long? That seems like a long time.
Yeah. So if you buy an investment flip, say in August, and you're going to close in September, and then you work on your plans and your remodel, you, as an investor, if you're buying a property at the end of the season, you're going to have to plan on carrying it longer. It's going to take longer to fix up because you have rains and delays. You got the holiday season to get permits and everything approved, and contractors are busy with holiday stuff. So if you buy a house at the end of the season, add another couple of months for flipping it for unforeseens, for your carrying costs and your reserves. That's fact.
So what about the other one you bought?
The other one I bought, I'm sitting in right now, and it was it was a tore down house. So I moved both of those investments into this, and I ended up knocking down a house from the bottom up. So I knocked down a house, and I built a brand new house on top of the old foundation. And
so what did you end up paying for all that?
I can build a brand new house from the bottom up for about $130 a foot.
Wow, that's awesome. So,
yeah.
So because you have held your home that you're living in right now for a long time, but you're going to because you're in the process of putting it on the market and doing something else, you're going to make quite a bit of money from that, right?
I'm going to do good on this one. I'm going to do good on this one. Keeping in mind that everything from 3 other properties have gone into it, and I live well below my means to be able to make those other investments and move all the cash into the next investment, and then use my real estate commissions to pay my bills.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you learn how to be an investor? Did you just like start doing it?
To be honest, the reason why I got into real estate was to be on the ground floor for investments.
Okay.
I'm an investor. I'm an investor at heart, and I've actually lost touch of that the last few years because I'm a businessman and an investor at heart, and real estate was just something that I was passionate about because I was already fixing up homes and doing flooring, and my dad taught me how to do the rest of the things because he was a spec home builder. My dad bought homes and did spec homes and fixed them up and remodeled them. So that was the education that I had, and that's why I got into real estate, was to be on the ground floor for investing.
And how old are you today?
I am 40.
So how many homes have you bought and sold in your 18 years, right?
Yeah. Let's see. So whereas we've bought them. So what I do is about every 2 homes, I hold one.
So how many do you own currently?
So I own 7, and I've bought and sold. I've sold, I say, about 20.
And how much money do you think that you've made over the years by doing it?
In the sales,
2 million?
Yeah.
So just on that side of your business of now that's not including the 7 that you own currently. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. That's where you make the money in real estate. Flipping is great to get a chunk of money, but if you're only flipping, you're not maximizing return. That's the least amount of profit that there is in the real estate investing industry, is to flip.
So as you're saying that, and a lot of my listeners know my story. So at 40 years old, I was broke and I didn't have a dime to my name and I was bankrupt. Had gone through a really tough time in my life. And what I started doing as soon as I got 10 years later in real estate and whatever else, and I was able to save up some money, a little bit of money, and my husband and I bought our first investment property. So we paid our first investment property, we paid $58,000 for. It was and now just so you know, everybody, I have never flipped a house. I own and have held every single one of them. So this property is a duplex, and it's actually currently I put 20 grand into it, and I make my husband and I make $2,400 a month on that investment. Okay. It is worth about $350,000. And I bought it 7 years ago. That's a pretty good investment, right?
Yeah. And look at that. So that's $250,000 profit, correct?
Plus, I make $2,400 a month.
Right.
So that's $30,000 a year. My carrying costs on that are $3,000 a year.
Yeah. So then $250,000 profit plus $30,000 a year. That's about $70,000 a year in the last 5 years that you've made off of that one investment.
I'll give you another one. I bought it for $58,000. Okay. We rent it currently for $1,500 a month. We did refinance it, pulled the cash out, pulled about 100 and something out a few years ago. And we still, my carrying costs on that are $700 a month. And I make, $1,500 or whatever, $1,500 a month. So I make $800 a month on that. Mm-hmm. So what's $10,000, right? And now that one was $58,000. Today it's worth $300,000, and bought it 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another one that we just bought in September. Now we usually buy them in Florida, but they're tougher. We have another one but we use it as a second home, so we don't really rent it out. So I can't really use that one. But because of all the money that we've made over the years, we bought it cash. And so we get a second home where we have a lake and a boat and all those things. Remember 10 years ago, I didn't have a dime to my name. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is what's happened. We just bought another one. We paid $175,000 for it. I use a self-directed IRA because I put about $150,000 to $200,000 a year we put away, or we buy a property, or we, at least that, a minimum a year per year, plus, everything else. So in 401ks, we maximize all of it because, guys, when you're 40 and you have no money, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to start over. And now I got to think about retirement. So we're trying to buy a house a year, okay, to hold and rent out so that we can build a really awesome retirement with 20 homes at least making minimum at $1,000 per month per home. Plus, obviously, all the equity in it. Pretty cool, right?
Absolutely. And then looking at your portfolio, Kristin, so the first thing I'll point out is that you've got is it a triplex that's bringing in $2,400 a month?
Duplex, yep.
And you probably have it paid off by now, right?
Oh, yeah. I paid it cash.
Okay. So now it's worth $300,000.
That's all cash in my pocket.
Now it's worth about $300,000, right?
Yep.
Units, and it's worth $150 per unit now, right?
Yep.
So if you were to take that money and buy a 10-unit building, how much would you pay for a 10-unit apartment building right now in your area?
I don't know. I have to look. I really haven't looked.
Yeah, typically when you go from 2 units to 10, you're probably going to pay about half the amount per door. So instead of $150, it's probably going to be about $75,000 per door.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good question. We haven't really looked in that yet. But the thing is, we can take money out of these properties because they're basically all paid in cash, right? But we haven't been able to find enough to be able to invest in. And plus we have all this other money, that we've saved over the last 10 years of my hardship, and of course my husband, Mark, he was not in the hardship, right? But, still, but then the thing is we just bought a place, and this is the first time we went out of state, and we bought it in Tennessee. We bought $175,000. We use a self-directed IRA. Our carrying costs per month are $400, and we're making about $4,000 a month. What do you think of that? Because we're Airbnb-ing it.
Mm-hmm.
$4,000 a month. So that's $3,500 a month with cash in pocket.
Yeah.
So that's another $40,000 a year.
Is that seasonal because of where it's
No,
at?
right now, no, because it's right now it's season, right? So yeah. So the first 3 months, October, November, December, we made $4,000. This month was about $1,000, and then in the summer though, we make $6,000 and $7,000, right? So October, November, December, I made $4,000. We made $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
So in the summer we make more, and January and February are the lowest 2 months, right? So it really averages is what we're looking at. It probably averaging about $4,000 a month. Is what it's gonna bring back.
You spent $200 on the property. $175.
Yeah, and of course we don't have a mortgage on it. But the thing is we're going to buy 2 more in that area. Okay, so because if we already have one, what's 2 more in the same area? And we're looking at our return on investment.
And who's your avatar for renting that?
Airbnb. It's people that are going to the area because it's the second place in the country for where people get married. It's families, kids. It's in Tennessee, and it's Pigeon Forge. So it's all the people that are coming in and using it for families and everything else. So it's huge. They're Smoky Mountains. They're little cabins in the Smoky Mountains is what they are.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So anyways, for everybody listening to start to be an investor, guys, what do you say to them? What do you say to them? Should they look at being an investor themselves, and why?
Well, first there's your first home. You buy a home and do whatever you have to get into that first home. Even if you got to rent out every room in the house and just live in one, buy your first home.
Or a duplex and rent half of it, or a triplex or whatever and live in part of it, right? Paying for your mortgage.
Two or three. There's a couple of questions that popped up. A 3-unit or a 4-unit apartment building, and then rent the other ones out. So get started in your own investment and in your own home, and that's where you look at if you've been on your job for 2 years or more and it's safe. Find that safe amount of money per month that you can afford, and then leverage and get into your first home. And then as far as investing, I would say live for cheap. Don't go out to eat don't get caught up in those $100 meals. Don't go buy new shoes, new clothes, all these other things that people waste their money. 80% of the world's going to live paycheck to paycheck for the rest of their life.
And, and that's a really good point that you say, because one thing that we did is now we've lived in the house that we live in, for since 2005. So a long time, right? 14 years, which average person lives in a house like 8 years. But the thing is instead of upgrading our own home, Marcus, we decided we're not going to do that. We're going to invest it in properties, and we're going to invest it in owning lots and lots of homes. So, because remember, at 40 years old, I was bankrupt and broke, didn't have a dime. And so you can see Marcus, who was 22 that started, and me that started over at 40. And all we both did is had a little bit of money, him 8,500, me, I think it was 30,000. And that's how we started. Okay. And then we built it from there into our portfolios. And as Marcus said on his flips, 2 million he's made. And then he's got the other 7 properties. Me, I'm holding them. And just in our rentals a year, you're looking at, a couple $100,000 in rent that's just coming in for money, plus the real estate business and everything else. So imagine, and we're trying to buy at least 1 property a year to build in that portfolio. So everybody who's out there and listening to this, and especially to you realtors who know real estate, go out there and invest, right? What's the last thing and tip that you can give them?
Go out there and invest on investment. A guy asked a couple of questions here on my Facebook Live, and so I'll address that. He asked me, have you ever lost on a real estate flip opportunity? Right?
Yep.
Have you ever
Good
lost
question.
on an investment? That's a great question. And so, yes, when the market shifted in 2006, I had a house that I was planning on selling, and it didn't sell. 2 things. I had an offer at 480. I thought it was worth 5.25. When I sniffed that the market shifted, I should have just took the offer and let it go, and I didn't. I got greedy.
Yeah, be careful. And there's a lot of people that have done that.
I held on to the place, wasted a lot of money. I ended up settling on that house in a short sale. I've never had any house go to foreclosure. I negotiated a settlement on a short sale. So I didn't lose any money off of it, and it had a huge piece of land. I actually sold off 2 chunks. I sold off some of the land to the neighbors to make a profit on the property. And then I settled with the bank on my loan. So I actually made a profit on that one of still about 7%. So I've actually never lost on a real estate deal because I had a backup plan for an investment. I think that number one, if you're going to buy a property and you've got to put $50,000 down to buy a property, put enough money in the bank. So every property that you invest in, go for it. Now, there's going to be these fears, right, Kristin, of like, what if something breaks, the mortgage, what if somebody moves out? So factor in 3 months. Yeah. Factor in 3 months of what it takes for if a hot water heater breaks, you got to pay the mortgage and fix something else. Let's call it $7,000 to protect the house for 3 months.
That's right. And
put that in a savings account for that particular property and never touch that.
And that's a really good point, because we had a couple homes that we owned with a mortgage, and and we bought them when the market was at its top, and they literally went down 200,000, 300, even the home that we live in, 200,000 or whatever. But because we were able to ride through the market, we were able to not, okay, so we would have lost 200,000 if we would have sold them as a short sale or whatever, but we were able to ride through the market with the rentals and stuff. And we had enough money, exactly what you're talking about, to save, that we were able to ride through the market and sell them then to make sure that we didn't lose any money. So that was a great question. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that us as agents can really use that to educate our clientele, is that 3 to 6 months of reserves on a worst case scenario go into an account, and we don't touch that. So if a hot water heater breaks, someone doesn't pay their mortgage, you pull from that account. You don't stress yourself out or worry about that, especially our older clients, Kristin.
That's right.
That's going to give them that safety net that they need so that their lifestyle doesn't get disrupted.
That's right. That's right. Well, this was awesome. And I know all of you listeners out there enjoyed it. And I loved having Marcus on, as him being an investor and myself being a newer investor, but when he said his whole life, really at 22 years old, and me starting over again at 40, you see really do 2 totally different perceptives on investing in real estate. And both of us, all we can tell you is go do it. Absolutely go do it. And thank you. And how can they reach out to you, Marcus, if they want to send you referrals or if they want to ask you more questions about real estate?
Yeah, I'm in Contra Costa, Northern California, near San Francisco. You want more questions? I'm Marcus D. Hinds on Facebook. Marcus D. Hinds on Facebook. And you can email me, marcus@marcushinds.com. That's HIND as in dollar, S as in Sam.com.
Awesome, Marcus. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Kristin. Take care. That was fun.
Yeah.